Hello and welcome to Game Soup with Chloe and Kayla. This is a game design podcast where we throw ideas in a pot and see what's cooking. I'm Kayla. How are you doing, Chloe?
I'm good. I don't have anything to report this week. I've had a very boring, basic week.
Very boring and basic. I had a quite nice week. I had my hair done. I went for a picnic with my boyfriend at one point. I went to see a photo exhibition by two friends of mine from uni who I'd also organised like art exhibitions with like 10 years ago. It's fun. I actually said something I thought was a very interesting statement that kind of has some applicability to RPGs. Because one of them asked me at one point, like, how does it compare to what we did with like Vackle that time ago? And I was like, well, you'd always hope to see that someone's advanced for 10 years. But in talking about how a lot of stuff they did, I was like, oh yeah, like collaboration isn't just how you've worked. It's like, it's a tool you're making art with almost. I think that can be an interesting way to think about RPGs. But that's too sincere to start this podcast off. So, yesterday, I learned two interesting statistics. And I think there could be a game in one of them. But the other one is just kind of funny, but I think I can segue into a game. While passing a thrift store chain, it's not a charity store, I think it is just, well, maybe it is, I can't remember. It's trade. I'll say this because like, if you I don't know how wide is trade. Do you have trades in Newcastle?
Can't say I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's with an I instead of like the D. But there's a lot around London. I was just wondering, is this a London chain? As like, various things can be. But that makes
certainly not
sense.
Northern.
Yeah, it is. I can't remember off the top of my head whether trade is a charity shop or just a thrift store, but it's a secondhand shop. But they had a thing on it, I guess, encouraging people to donate, a sign saying, 30 clothes in your wardrobe are unworn. And you ever see a statistic or something where you're like, damn, I'm really not living the same life as everyone else? Do you have any clothes in your wardrobe that are unworn?
Maybe there's stuff that I like buy and I'll try it on at home and then I'll be like, I don't like it, and then not be bothered enough to take it back. But like, I don't know if there's like anything other than like a jumper that doesn't quite fit.
Yeah, are you thinking the only unworn clothes you have are ones you get accidentally?
Yeah. I'm not going on a shopping haul and buying 30 clothes and then, oops, I don't wear half of it.
I didn't see a citation for this at all, so I'm not sure if this is a thing where like, oh yeah, some people just live very different lives and there are loads of people who have like at least 30 items of clothing that they've I'm mainly just like, how are you having the space to have that and an amount of clothes you are wearing? Like,
Having Sex in the City is an outlier who should not be counted.
Yeah, is this dragged up by fashionista outliers? Or alternatively, is there a different definition of unworn people are using? Like, could unworn just mean not worn in the last year? Which occasionally I'll do something like that where I'll like think back over a year and go, oh, I did not wear this jumper at all. I keep refusing to throw away this jumper because I think I might wear it in winter. But an entire winter has come and gone and I didn't use it. That's going in a pile for the charity shop.
Yeah, maybe in the last year I've not worn all of my clothes, but...
Yeah, I was like, is there a different definition of unworn rather than never worn that is being used here to make this stat work? Anyway, the segue here, I don't know if there's a game in like whatever your unworn clothes are or whatever, but I was curious, is there a game to do with secondhand stores? Either like mechanically or, I guess we've made lots of games where the plot is kind of like, could start at a secondhand store. But I was wondering about, like, I once thought of a solo game that was about just trying to find something abhorrent in a charity store. No, it wasn't a solo game, it was a competitive solo game.
Who can find the worst thing in a charity shop? I think that's just going into a charity shop.
Well, I had... So what this game was based off of, I think I figured it out on a holiday once, is when I was about to start my second year of uni, I was going to move into a flat with friends for like the first time. And I think while we were ahead of that, someone had proposed a charity shop challenge where we'd all go to charity shops in our hometown and try and find the worst thing to bring to the flat. That in itself is a fun, silly game. I don't think there's any RPG element you can add to that. That's just a competition. But one of the things that was found was what began to become known as like the dog egg, because it was this little porcelain statue. It was like a dog breaking out of an egg. And at first my friend was like, well, I bought it and I almost thought it looked cute. But then I looked at it and I realized it's horrific. Because this isn't a puppy hatching from an egg. No, this is broken and its mouth is open. It's killed whatever was inside this egg and has broken out of it. And also then I was like, yeah, and presumably whatever was inside of this egg for the size of the dog must have been a dinosaur, I guess. So it's, just like contributed to not saving the dinosaurs. But she was oddly sort of horrified by it. And what this escalated into was hiding the dog egg in other people's places to surprise them.
Okay.
So someone would be, opening their cupboard to get out a packet of super noodles. It's like, oh god, there's the dog egg right there.
So it's like a reverse Elf on the Shelf, where instead of trying to find it, you're trying to not find the thing. Or you're trying to
give the thing to other people. And yeah, I kind of jump scare it. Like, I think we also did that with oh man, I'm going to say this anecdote. And now it's going to kind of maybe give a hint that, like, yes, I was part of an insufferable group of students. It was like, well, we'd also do that sometimes of moving the life-size cutout of Peter Andre we had closer to someone's door before they opened.
Yeah, I guess that's just a thing students do.
Yeah, it's the things that feels like the sort of height of comedy when you're younger. You look back on still like, it was funny.
Yeah, we have a traffic cone in our living room. Why?
Yeah.
Because we stole it.
So random. It's a bit where it's like, it's harmless, so random fun. It's harmless, not as funny as you think it is.
Yeah.
But I am sort of compelled by this idea of like, because I also had a friend who lived in a different house, and this was only like 4 years ago, who for some reason bought one of my housemates like a Funko Pop from a bad film, and then kept trying to hide that in our house. And so whenever we were going over a visit, we'd have to be swapping and trying to retaliate and get that back in their house and not get noticed and sent away with this bad Funko. Yeah. That was way more recently. But I'm like, is there some kind of game? And finding weird what my pitch was, was this idea of like, not quite a solo game, but you find something that feels like a vaguely sort of like cursed artifact in a charity shop, like a doll you could decide is haunted, even just something tacky. It's like I found a glass clown in a charity shop and then gave that to my housemate as a Christmas present. Like, you can always find something kind of a bit fucked. And like, it's then a case that you were just hiding that fucked game, like the uni thing I did, or you can even hide it across places if you're not doing it with like people you live with. But what I was also thinking of the game is it's pitched with like a list of questions which would fill in the backstory of this artifact, and each time you were surprised by it, you cross through a thing, fill in some backstory, the game goes on. It's kind of solo because you do the playing alone, but when someone like crosses through the last thing, it's like, oh, we've got this guy's whole backstory now. And I guess then you could now you have done that and finished the game, maybe you use them as a monster in saying, or maybe you return it to a charity shop with this finished like little play sheet as its own sort of passed on thing. I could have written this in a day and it would be on one page. I guess
I was going to say that whole spiel you were giving, I was like, this isn't a game until that last paragraph.
Yeah, well, I'm giving you the backstory. This isn't a game, Chloe. This is a podcast. Sometimes we're not just pitching rule.
Most of the time we're not pitching rules.
We're so rarely pitching rules. But, like, do you have any ideas of something you could do with, like, what things you'd grab from a charity shop, or...
Sure, I did have an idea at the start. I mean, when you were talking about, like, cursed objects, it's like, the common trope of you can't get rid of a cursed object, you have to give it on to somebody else. And they get the curse with it. It's like, is there anything there?
Ooh, I think that could be fun. I've now just thought of saying, like, do you know how a white elephant works?
Yeah, we have to. It's like Secret Santa, but you get terrible presents for people, but you can swap, I think.
You don't inherently get. You can get nice presents, but there is this game of swapping and stealing presents. Like once people are picking from this big pile rather than anything that was bought for a specific person, and then after unwrapping, there's chances to steal or stuff. I wonder if you could maybe like take some kind of like white elephant element, but also there's an aspect of maybe like card draws for doing swaps and you're giving on curse. I don't think this is not entirely like a. This is, I feel like, a very like free-form role-playing game with the structure of a party game, and then just like prompts to be like how you'd be passing on curses, what curses you've passed on. You're kind of bidding on what curse you have. Maybe there's then like a second phase of the game, but I don't know what that would. I feel that second phase would almost be a separate game. I almost feel like this could be a great character creation bit for like a mini game, a game that is a minigame compilation, you know? Like, character creation involves you passing around your curses via White Elephant.
So it's giving... Do you watch Game Changer?
Yes, I've watched Game Changer.
Yeah, the most recent episode where they all have rules that they stick onto their body. It's
yeah, I was just thinking there's some of the swap.
With those.
Some of the swap element there. I feel like that's obviously interesting if you were doing it as like a... If you're doing this as not a role-playing game. I feel like as a role-playing game where it'd be like, yeah, you find your item, you also then like write a curse for it, or pick from curses that could be relevant for whatever the other half of the game is. And yeah, there's maybe then something about like, like I feel like some of the modifiers in terms of like, oh, swap this curse, steal a curse, clone this curse could be interesting, which would probably be through almost some like card draw.
Yeah. I think this is maybe an adventure for D&D or whatever. So it's an OSR adventure, we'll say that.
I don't think this card-based party game we've created is an OSR adventure, but
then you get curses for picking things up, and then that affects how you have to do the role play, and then you can swap them between people, but they can't be removed or whatever. And
so, yeah, I feel like the simplest, and by simplest, I do kind of mean, like, weakest version of this is, yeah, you just do it as a fun party game for swapping curses that then apply in an actual role-playing game you're playing.
Yeah.
I feel like we're as far as this without having to actually write what game would work with this. So do you want to hear the other interesting statistic I learned?
Go ahead, honey.
By the time someone is age 70, I learned this at the hospital, they've been asleep for 22 years.
That sounds more like the tagline for a horror film then.
Well, this was the thing that immediately brought to mind. The 22-year-old Dreamself. I feel like this is a pitch I had of almost a plot, and I worry that I'm going to pitch this idea and you're going to go, I think that's just a short story, which is my biggest fear. But an idea of like, yeah, some kind of 70-year-old who is to interact with a 22-year-old who is the version of them who grew up in the dreamland and has aged at a much slower rate.
I think this is a new playbook for Psycho Dungeon.
No. I'd say this is a new skin for Monster Hearts. But
there we go, we solved it.
I think, yeah.
It starts off with age gap discourse.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess the playbook is you just have the 22-year-old version. I think there's an interesting interplay between someone's dream, someone who is a version of a person but who has aged at a much slower rate, lived in dreams, and also a person who's 70 could be like, you know, in the final years of their life, obviously. Final years, but
yeah,
you get what I mean. I'm like, is this a 2 or 3 player game where one of you is the waking self and one is the person who grew up in the dream world?
Yes. And also Karkat is there because this is just Homestuck.
Is this how Homestuck works?
No.
This is another Chloe tries to explain Homestuck to Kayla.
They do have dream selves in Homestuck where when they are asleep, they wake up as the dream self, but they're in a different world.
Actually, now I think about it, I've just thought about Narnia.
Oh, go on.
Well, I mean, like how there has the like a lot of actually Portal fantasy stuff will have this thing of like time working differently in a dream
Yes.
world. And I almost like the idea that like the dream self, the split almost happens at like a specific age, where it's like at 15 you had this, or not 15, at age 8 you had this dream about going into a Portal fantasy. It's I guess it's the in this case the outside world is the fast one and the dream world is the slower one. And it's like, this is the version who just stayed there and had adventures in this Portal fantasy world, but that for them has only been, 12 years. So they come out as a 22-year-old, and then you're the version of this person, or not you, but the 70-year-old is the version of this person who stayed and lived like a life entirely different.
Yeah. I think I'd maybe have them go in a bit later so that when they come out and maybe talk or whatever, there's like some more shared experience, because I feel like all 8-year-olds are the same. But
damn. I get your point. Yeah, I would need to now probably look up maths about the statistic, because I'm like, the 22-year-old is also counting all the sleep you do as a baby. So I'm like, if that's kind of cut off, it's I think you just have to look up like how much time does someone spend asleep per year, and then multiply that. Maybe it puts the age of the old person at like 90 or something.
But then it's like a harrowing game about your younger self helping your dying deathbed self. Or like your younger self is your carer for your 90-year-olds. Like
some 90-year-olds can still get about. Like I don't necessarily think you'll like need to be infirm at that age. But
wow.
I get what you mean. Yeah, I do feel this game implicitly is a bit about dying, right? Mortality.
Yeah. And it's like, does the dream self carry on after the awake self dies or whatever? Do they actually exist beyond a dream or whatever?
Or I guess if the older self is maybe there's one version of this where it's like the older self dies and then the person who had just been living on dream time comes out. In that case, I guess it's more about grief.
Grief for the person that you never got to be, and trying to fit into this family who you'd never had.
Then it could, I guess, be about expectations, or it's maybe about grief in that, like, the old self is kind of an analog for parents or grandparents or whatever. This basically, I feel whatever way we split a game coming out of this statistic, it feels like it's going to be kind of grim, or not necessarily grim, but definitely heavy. It could be heavy in a way.
Heavy game.
It could be like weird fantasy rather than like, doesn't need to be grimdark, but it would still be kind of heavy and a bit maudlin, which is fine.
We can do those.
But I do think it's weird for us. Definitely the version where the old person is a major character. I'm like, this is a weird game for us to write as like a 30-year-old and a 20-something.
Yeah. I guess
not impossible. I'm just weird.
I guess we'd write it like, at least the version I would write would be about like grieving for a lost childhood you never had, or like I never got to be a kid. I never got to. It's about being trans. Do you get it?
Yeah, I can see how you do this as a trans analog, but even then, I'm like, but it feels like the version of transness is also is about people who come out later in life, which would feel very weird for me to write this game as someone who came out at 19.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, this is I'm like, there's definitely a really interesting game we are pitching in this. I'm just not sure if I personally have an into it that doesn't feel weird. Not like weird as in bad, but just like, this is a lot of thinking about experiences you don't have and are not having.
No, I think we write the game and then the back 4 pages are like an interview with a trans person who came out at like age 70.
That is an interesting idea. I worry it would be Yeah, that could be interesting if you're doing something
It's
about
called exploitation.
that. Well, I'm not saying like, but I like, yeah, because I don't think you need cover to write something that is realistically an empathy exercise in like with heightened fantasy. I just think I'm like, but why would I be doing this? Why would I spend so much time thinking about something that is not the life I led?
Do you not
Who knows?
grieve the childhood you never got to have?
That's an interesting question. I don't necessarily know. I mean, is it weird if I say the answer's no? There's not a part of me that goes, damn, you know what I wish I could have been? A trans 13-year-old in Essex. I bet that would have been great.
No, I'm meaning growing up as a cis girl.
Nah, I don't really think about that.
Oh, well, I guess I'm the weird one. Thank you for listening to Game Soup.
I think I'm more the weird one. I think I'm the one who's overly
You're
zen,
just,
but yeah.
well adjusted.
I think, yeah, thank you for listening to Game Soup. I can't believe someone's finally told me I'm well adjusted.